I have a team. Team Ballroom, I call them.
Team Ballroom, I love it.
Right?
Yeah.
Who can take care of me right through training, right up to the moment I step on the dance floor. So Carole and I are going to share some highlights from the Fred Astaire Northeast Dance Sport Championship. We got some insider feedback from their instructors on how they actually did. So we're excited to share that with you.
Our first student spotlight is with Mariana Newman, who danced at the Northeast Dance Sport Championships. She was amazing in writing down really her true challenges, some wisdom that she wants to give to our fellow amateur dancers, and how happy she is to be part of the ballroom competitive dance, competition circuit.
Mariana is amazing. So I only met Mariana at our studio in Mamaroneck, Fred Astaire Mamaroneck, about a year ago. And I just walked into the studio and I saw her dancing with Stanley McCullough, my studio owner. And I was just amazed. I wanted to know how long she was dancing. One of the things that Marianne talks about a lot is having a team. I have a team. Team Ballroom, I call them.
Team Ballroom, I love it.
Right?
Yeah.
Who can take care of me right through training, right up to the moment I step on the dance floor. And having supportive people around her, right? I saw the support from Alan, her husband, and it made all the difference in the world. And that's amazing. So Mariana talks about that a lot.
I see a lot of fellow competitors in other competitions that I've been to who have either family members, sisters, spouses, friends that come. And it is such like a little team that shows up, and the friends are like blown away. Family is blown away at their loved ones dancing on the competition floor. And it makes it such an amazing reward, I think, for the amateur dancer to come off the floor and get that sort of gratification, from the surrounding love they get from their friends and family.
And this is what Mariana said about her experience competing this weekend. I entered the championship for the first time and did very well. Standing on the podium for Latin and Smooth was a thrill. And we have insight to how she really did. And this is from her instructor and our studio owner, Stanley McCullough.
So Stan McCullough and I go way back. I've known him through Fred Astaire Dance Studios now for probably 14 years. As the owner of the Mamaroneck Dance Studio, he had some amazing feedback for Mariana. He was so proud of Mariana Newman for winning the bronze championship in Latin and winning third place in the American Smooth Bronze Championship, he said, out of 11 couples. I think that is just stunning. I remember the days when there might have been one or two people. It's far more exciting when you can get through that with a larger set of couples.
Incredible.
He also said how proud he was of all his students, but most particularly the fantastic dancing that Mariana did at this competition.
A couple of other challenges that we really don't talk about a lot. Physical challenges. So listen to this, folks. Mariana has had 3 replacements, 2 joints in the knee and 1 hip. And she also has an autoimmune challenge that kind of created some fatigue for her.
So a lot of people don't talk about that. More and more dancers that out there, young and old, do have similar stories.
So listen, most of us compete with some challenges, right? But when you are seriously faced with challenges like this, and then to take first and third place, that's incredible. So I asked Mariana if she had some words of wisdom.
Okay.
Always be kind to one another. Do your best to have positive self-talk. I believe that is probably what helped Mariana overcome the challenges.
If you can see also, if you look on the show notes below, there's a link to one of the podcasts where we speak about positive mindset and overcoming limiting beliefs. So that's some of the videos available. So I'll just point that out above, you'll see a pop-up there with what that video is. You really, I mean, it's important if you're out there in the audience wondering, hey, if I'm going to start dancing, or I'm nervous about going to my first competition, make sure that you surround yourself with other people in the studio that are going, and it'll be such a world of difference when you arrive there. Yeah.
100%. So sidebar, that's how this connection happened, right? I'm going to do a shout out to Deb. Deb, you are my team Ballroom. You've been there for me so many times with safety pins and hairspray and tanning and everything, sewing kit, steamer, iron, everything. You're there. You're my team.
Yeah.
Guys, just to be sure, we're going to have a tip sheet that you're going to be able to access with all of the tips that we're highlighting here and from other amateur competitors, not just our tips. This is an outreach to true other competitors. So
yeah, I'll put that in the show notes. So if you look below in your show notes and click on the link, you'll get redirected to the tip page, and we'll make sure that you get that resource guide. So I just wanted to share with you some thoughts about Stanley McCullough's feedback he had on the experience being at the competition this weekend with a student, but he really thought it was a very exciting competition at the Northeast Dance Sport Championships. He felt it was full of camaraderie. The sportsmanship was high, fantastic atmosphere, and it was very healthy amount of students that attended with over 11,000 entries. And that just shows really sort of the support that the students sort of put into their dancing. That was exciting.
That's why the energy was incredible. So I didn't even realize that 11,000 entries.
Yeah,
That's
11,000
wow,
entries.
nice.
That's big. And I remember back in the day, and that's
Definitely for
right
a
up there.
regional. That's great. And
The other thing that if for Stanley, who was her instructor and the owner of the studio, he really just gives a lot of advice to folks like Mariana, and just really advises his amateur students to really find a good quality teacher. Our next spotlight's on James Figueroa. He is quite something. I actually social dance with James, and he is like a terrific dancer. He's got a mean cha-cha, I got to tell you. And if you're listening to this, James, absolutely class act. I love you. And I will say I also love your costumes. So I'm giving you the wink right now because I think it's great. Listen, the spotlight on James, he competed and has been actually quite regularly, I think, in the last year. And his teacher is Tracy Ludwig, and she gave some really, really great tips and feedback about James. And she just said, look, she loves his enthusiasm, thinks that James is a fantastic student on the dance floor, has been dancing for a really long time, but really eager to learn and grow. And I think most people that dance, that is what we aim to do. We want to find joy. We want to learn. We want to grow. We want to be able to develop our skills. And she is so proud of how he is realizing his dreams. And his performances have just been improving more and more, and increasing that development in his quality movement all the time. She did say how she loves how he's trusting the process. So James, if you're listening, trust the process. And if you're listening and in the audience and you're thinking, oh my gosh, what do I do to overcome those anxieties? Trust the process, trust your teacher, and you will see small incremental wins along the way. She also said that he's just so fun to have on the dance floor. His personality really unique, shines through, and it actually, comes across well with other amateur students as well. And so for all those reasons, she's just immensely proud. She loves his energy. And I think that all those sort of items that I've mentioned about James kind of embody, especially for James, he's probably competes in the senior category, and for things like that, that's a lot, to try to get out there and be excited and to do those things. So great job, James.
And I give James so much credit, Carole, because I get to see James, weekly, pretty much, coming into the studio. And no, not coming into the studio. James is always in the studio.
He's one of those that if you listen to a podcast that Joe was talking about, how to go from being a beginner student to a competitive winner, he said, practice, and be in there a lot.
Yeah, exactly. So I've got to I'm blessed with seeing James' evolution of his dancing, and to be also blessed to be able to see him compete.
Hmm.
And I did get to see him compete for his championship and scholarship, and he did really, really well. But let me tell you, the competition out there, there's some really great male
Hmm.
competitors out there, and James is moving his way up, and it was really, really great to see, and great to see the connection between James and Tracy. Some things, other things that Tracy shared that I love. I just said some things. We said, what else would you like to add? And Tracy said, everyone dances differently for different reasons, but they all share a strong positive energy. And I agree with that. And that's part of the reason why we all dance. It's such a positive atmosphere. It's a positive energy. Like I was saying before, I was, heading to the competition, and it was like the inside vibe was just going crazy inside of me. And that's great advice. So don't give up, keep practicing, explore and play. And I think this is all great advice. Our next spotlight is going to be on Deb Isbitsky. And Deb, Carol, Deb and
Hmm.
I are kind of like,
Soul sisters.
soul sisters. We
Yeah.
Deb started a little bit before me, and then I showed up and whatever. And I was really, really excited because Deb has been working so hard
Hmm.
in the studio. I mean, the hours and hours, and this is only
Oh,
the
yes. She's
great.
like the epitome of, and I do see this because I've been to several of the Fred Astaire Dance Studio competitions with you, and she dances frequently. But as for practicing, that she puts in the time, like for sure. Hmm.
I know. And I like over the past year or so, I've tried to come to every local or regional competition that Deb has been competing in to support and just to see the growth, which makes me so excited. I love
Hmm.
that. I love to see, as you know, like we all work so hard and amazing. So I was there to witness.
Hmm.
I'll jump forward and then we'll jump backwards. But I was there to witness on Saturday Deb's
Hmm.
American Rhythm single rounds with Arsene, her instructor, who happens also to be my instructor. So Arsene Sargisian. And
He had great feedback actually to give on Deb. He was just saying that overall, how proud. First of all, I love hearing that of all of our instructors, but he's immensely proud of her. Kim is so blessed to be dancing with Arsene, who is her instructor, and he has been a huge follower of our podcast, and I want to thank Arsene for his fabulous feedback and for his competition experience. He noticed it's different for him each and every time, but what he noticed the most is how people are really like just get really into it. They get into the dancing, and he loves how his students are really working hard. And I know that you are blessed in working with him, and you're excited to get back on the floor with him as well.
what always makes me really happy and proud, like of my friends, right?
Yeah.
My fellow competitors in the studio
Hmm.
is watching the growth, and watching the hard work because we know how much hard work goes into realizing what you want to accomplish, what your dream is, and I was so happy I got to see from the last competition that I got to see Deb compete in to this one, just the growth. Deb has her 3 opens
Hmm.
now, and she did amazing, and we know how that is, like competing with our opens.
It
Interesting.
is.
So I got to see that, and Deb performed very well. But here's one thing that I love, and we talked about this with Stanley, talking about Mariana, Tracy talking about James, and Arsene talking about Deb, and Arsene was really, really concise, and he said he's overall really proud of Deb because she puts so much hard work, and he sees good things coming out of it, and he sees a really, really big improvement in her dancing, and so do I. And I think that's so great, and I love to see that in everybody's dancing. And we asked each, instructor about the overall experience, and it's so interesting how everyone's view is pretty much the same, but different. And Arsene was saying, he enjoys every competition experience, and each one is different. But what he realized for this one is that everyone is dancing harder or dancing more and putting more into it. And that's a great thing to see. And in his exact words, it's people are getting more into the dance and students are working even harder than before. And I think that's great. I asked for words of advice. And here's what Arsene said. He said, if I can see every time at least 1% improvement from each student after each lesson, that would make him very happy. And I think that's great because I always say if I can learn just one thing, whether it's from a lecture, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
from reading a book, whether it's from a mentor, whether it's from a lesson, whether it's from a competition, if I can take just one thing away, then I know that it was successful. So I love that advice. And then the last thing he said is everyone should just keep dancing.
The next student spotlight is on Jen Sylvia. Jen actually interviewed with us last year to talk about club night. So take a look at the show notes. There'll be a link there. Jen this year at the Constitution Dance Sport in Stamford, Connecticut, decided to make a shift. And this is the challenge that she had to overcome. She made the decision to move from dancing Latin, which she has done for years, and go back to dancing American rhythm. Now, when I first met Jen nearly 11 years ago, we were both dancing and started American rhythm together. And so making that shift, though, after having invested years of dancing both closed and open routines in Latin, you really have to get ready to get back on the dance floor. And so I asked her, I said, were you nervous? And she says, no, I wasn't nervous. I said, was it kind of like riding a bike? She says, yeah, kind of like that. So she was very, very happy getting on the floor. She felt very comfortable. She pulled out some of her older costumes that looked like brand new. By the way, I remember one of her designers of the dress actually said it looks brand new, and in fact mentioned how even like the craftsmanship of that particular costume like really stood the test of time. So these are tips, like for example, that she would offer and say, you have things in your closet that you can kind of repurpose or pull back out. I'm very proud of Jen. She's a true and blue competitor, likes to do show dance, enjoys club night, and right now is really focusing on American rhythm. And her instructor, Giovanni, would always say that Jen gives 100% on the dance floor. She has the best footwork. She really has amazing legs, and she always gives a very positive, sort of partnership with her instructor.
That's amazing. Did Jen happen to share any challenges that she was facing? Because we're going to be focusing on overcoming.
Yeah, for her, it's just the memory of having to switch from being in Latin, from styles of dance, going from style 1 to style 2 after many years of being on the floor. So some of the challenges that Jen faces, just like me, are some physical challenges. Oftentimes, things happen. If you twist your ankle or if you pull your back, Jen seems to really dance through this stuff. And I will say that while a challenge, she now watches that a little more closely. Maybe she will have to, as she said to me, maybe she has to change her shoe height or do some adjustments in order to make sure that she's not, putting herself in any more pain. But I would say that the physical challenge for her occasionally is something to monitor. But she is eager to be on the dance floor, and she really just wants to try her best.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And it's much like, Mariana having physical challenges as well. Mm-hmm. And, I think there's a conversation to be had about preparation, physical preparation, to mitigate those physical challenges prior to them actually happening. Mm-hmm. And we can talk a lot about that because I do personally lots of physical preparation to make sure that it's not about the physical body, it's about the physical capability of the body. Mm-hmm. Right? And everything I do personally or we try to do is in service to dance. So
I think you need to know your body as well, like in terms of physical preparation. At times we can all overdo it, like recently I know I'm doing like to, do maybe a double or something like that. And I think that you'd really need to know your limits if you're physically prepared to do that, or have the, that you're not going to run into like any injuries. Just need to watch
Yeah,
that.
and
And I
or
think that's what you're saying, is that there's ways to prep your body for that.
to make sure that those don't happen.